Welcome to the Reinvent Relevance podcast. I'm your host, Jason Mutzfeld, Director of Learning at Merfeld Career Management. Our show is about what we do to help people who want to take charge of their careers. We call it Reinventing Relevance, embracing change to do your best work. Today's topic, how to communicate relevance to show you're the best candidate for the job or the promotion. Joining me today is Michelle Merritt, the principal and founder at Merfeld Career Management. Michelle, go ahead and take it away. Tell us a little bit about how persuasive communication and solving that persuasion puzzle is important for job seekers and job advancers.
Well, I think you hit it on the head, Jay, when you said persuasive puzzle or persuasion puzzle. It feels that way sometimes, trying to communicate our value, trying to communicate our relevance to our supervisors, to our future employers, to our network as we're activating those key stakeholders in our job search can be really, really tough, especially when you feel like you've been kicked in the teeth. This is a time when many people are finding themselves in the job market, either by choice or by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be really tough to communicate value. And I think the most important piece to that is starting to believe a little of your own press, right? And sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. But, starting to really embrace what you've accomplished, take stock in those accomplishments. We talk about that a lot when we talk with clients about updating their resumes, sitting down and taking credit for what you've done, what you've achieved, the roles you've had on a team, the teams you've led, the projects you've led, and be able to articulate how you have moved those forward. So many people, especially the women listening, tend to say we because they're not comfortable saying I. And there's a fine line there in communicating how you've led a team and the fact that you've been the person out front versus taking full credit for something that you didn't do.
That's true. And, a lot of people, when they go into an interview, they expect that this interview is going to be led by the interviewer. And when in reality, interviews are often led by HR or management. And the unfortunate thing, HR knows pretty much what to ask, but they don't really know much about the position. So they frequently punt the ball to management. And if you know anything about management and the science of management, you know the Peter principle, which is sometimes managers aren't necessarily the best people for the job. They're just competent. So they don't necessarily have the skill to do the interview well. That's not a reflection on their character. They just don't have that skill. They've not been trained in it. And it's not something that a lot of businesses promote. The interviewing skill, they're kind of blind. They're just going into this as much out of their element as you, the candidate, or in the case of a promotion, the employee, as much as you are. So taking that into consideration, I always advise people that you need to be persuasive because you have to communicate to be understood. You have to make sure that story is set. And Michelle, tell us a little about how coaching and how preparation is important in communicating that relevance and having that story down pat. I know you talk about that a lot in interview prep.
We do. So we are continually prepping clients for their interviews. And we always talk about strategy over specifics, right? So it's important to have an interviewing strategy. We don't want to sound rehearsed. Part of communicating in a relevant fashion, in a persuasive fashion, as you've said, is really making sure that you communicate in a way that sets you apart, in a way that has some authority but is not rehearsed or overly practiced, right? So we always talk through what are the common questions you're asked to answer in an interview. Of course, there's the dreaded tell me about yourself questions, things like that, but you want to prepare answers. I personally encourage people to write down their answers, maybe make a couple bullet pointed notes to reflect on as you're answering the question. But you don't want to make it sound like, gee, Jay, thanks for asking me question number 3 on my list. Let me read you the answer. But you also want to prepare for questions that you know are commonly asked in interviews based on your industry, your vertical, or your position. So, do your research ahead of time to know what those questions might be, but then also be prepared to ask questions rather of the interviewer. As you say, a lot of times that first interviewer is HR, and then you're going to the hiring manager. And depending on the individual that is in the interview, they may not be well versed in the art of interviewing. So, this is your opportunity to really guide that interview. Don't take over, because that's not
Yeah,
appropriate in the interview. That's not persuasive communication. But
that's
by how
domineering.
that's domineering, exactly. But how you guide the conversation with your answers can make a huge difference. Another thing that I know, Jay, you always encourage people to ask, and I think I do too, early on in the conversation, find out what success looks like
Mhm.
to this person. In a year from now, what do they see a successful candidate achieving? And that will help you guide your answers, and it will drive your answers to make sure that you answer the way that is important to the interviewer.
Exactly. That value as a candidate or promotion candidate or job candidate is dependent on the person perceiving. It is true communication. There's a sender and a receiver, and the receiver is the one who decides whether you're a valuable candidate or not, a relevant candidate in our parlance. So I guess the one question I hate, and I always bring up when I do interview coaching, is what do you do when they say, are you the best candidate for this job?
Mhm.
Most human beings and most people in 2020 aren't necessarily wired to answer that question, because we're taught to look at the facts. And the fact is, well, I don't know the other candidates. There could theoretically be somebody better than me. Look at it very concretely. But in an interview or promotional sort of situation or review situation, you need to think more abstractly. You need to realize this isn't A to B question. As you say, it's not a formula, it's not a script.
Mhm.
There's no this answer requires this, this question requires this answer. This is improv. This is theater. This is
Mhm.
communicate and respond. And how you respond, you're right, and 100% it is based on what does success look like. So understanding what a successful candidate looks like not only makes you seem more astute, more aware of what's going on, you will also be able to show that, look, I understand more than just A plus B equals C,
Mhm.
that you can think abstractly, which is so important today.
Right. And let's talk for a second, Jay, if we have time, about how hard it can be to talk about why you're the best person when you found yourself in a surprise job search.
Mm,
Right. So you and I've both been through this. You have been in positions where you have made a big change in your career. So have I. It can be tough. And, it really goes back to choosing to sometimes fake it till you make it, and really projecting confidence. And
yeah,
that, for most people, I would say 85% of our clients
mhm,
struggle with this issue.
yeah,
So that weird pit you get in your stomach when you think, gosh, I'm talking too much, I'm being too boastful,
mhm,
that weird uncomfortableness, that is exactly the sweet spot.
yeah,
Learn to live in that sweet spot. Now, there are some people who need to dial it way back,
yes.
right? But the vast majority of us need to get a little bit uncomfortable and then be willing to stay there to articulate those achievements and those accomplishments in a way that is persuasive, because confidence, not arrogance,
Mhm.
confidence really attracts people.
And that confidence comes from self awareness and understanding your story, understanding your own personal value.
Right.
Again, when you look into things like imposter syndrome and the Dunning Kruger, excuse me, effect, you start to understand people are. Confidence is a real issue, especially with rank and file employees. It's an issue in management, and trust me, I've known enough presidents and CEOs that are extremely insecure. that security of knowing who you are, what you can do, for somebody else, and what you're trying to do, most importantly, and where it's all taking you, all the questions that we ask in our coaching model, those really help you feel that confidence, because it's confidence based in fact. And you're
Mhm.
just being honest about who you are and what you can do. You're not making things up. That's frequently, I think, what people think of confidence. They think of braggadocious or arrogant, as you say, that sort of false bravado.
Mhm.
And we don't want that. We want some honest, plain facts. We always stress at Merfeld that we're a Midwestern firm for a reason. We're no
We're proud of
nonsense,
that.
plain spoken, down to earth, proud of it, because hard work is hard work. And be honest to that. More importantly, be proud of it. Don't be
Mhm.
boastful, but be proud of what you've done, because being proud of your job and the work you've accomplished can really make the difference, not only in getting you the job, but in making the job worth doing.
Right,
Let's
right.
be honest. We all want to do meaningful, purposeful work,
We do.
and you just have to really get in there and roll up your sleeves and feel good about that. And confidence can communicate that. And that can make the difference between you being the right candidate or the candidate who, better luck next time. You don't want to be that person.
Right. Right. And I think find your biggest cheerleaders, right? Go through your past reviews, find the things that people said good about you. Focus on, we always say, fix what's right with you.
Mhm.
Focus on the good, focus on what's right. Talk to your biggest fans at the office. Talk to your biggest personal cheerleaders. Get the pep talk and avoid the people who tend to bring you down, that are high drama, when
Mhm.
you're getting ready to prepare for an interview or to network with people to improve your job situation. So,
Yes.
avoid, if you can, high drama people, and really focus on the people who are going to bring you up. If that's listening to good music, if that, whatever that is, find the things that put you in that good space, that confident, take on the world sort of space, and be able to keep yourself in that mode as much as you can. But that's also going to mean controlling your environment a little bit. And not even a little bit, it's a lot of controlling your environment for sure.
That's true. That's true. Do not put up with the drama triangle. I would like to introduce everyone to, this is Dexy. She's from our finance department, and she has come to join us today on the podcast.
Right.
And that's about all we have for today. Thanks, Dexy, for taking us home there. I appreciate it. Michelle, is there any final thoughts you have?
No, I think we've covered it today, but just as a reminder, be confident, be bold, be proud of what you've achieved, own those accomplishments, and go out and make it happen.
Excellent. Excellent. I agree totally. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We do appreciate you stopping by and taking a listen to what we have to say. As always, we will be back soon with another episode. Hope you have a great week. Stay safe, stay sane. Talk to you soon.